Mike Bohn joined now by Forrest Griffin on the 20-year anniversary of the Ultimate Fighter 1. Forrest, man, I know this comes around every year, but 20 years obviously a very seminal anniversary. So, does this feel like a special moment of, I guess, reflection for you a little bit?
It kind of does. I mean, honestly, it does because it's 20 years. So, obviously, I'm retired, and I think 20 years we can celebrate it one last time and then forget about it forever. That's my strategy.
Yeah. When this date comes around, I guess, what are the first things that come to mind, I guess?
Honestly, I don't really notice it. And then last year, I noticed somebody said the 19th year, and I was like, holy crap, no way. And then, 20 years it's pretty cool though. You think about, for me, this is bigger than a high school graduation, It's
Right.
for the guys that were on the show, it's pretty cool, I think. And yeah.
Yeah. And of course needs to be said, I guess how much you think about Stephan Bonnar on this day and your connection with him and how much you miss him.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. He and now his family. Obviously Stephan was a big part of it. We became friends after, and we palled around. It's funny. He lived in Vegas for a while, and we would always do fun gigs together and crazy. He was one of those people who was like, "Hey, I got a great idea," and you're like, "That's probably not, but let's do it anyway." Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Are you still pretty close with his family now?
His wife actually moved to Arizona, so his wife and son are now in Arizona.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I mean it's crazy, right? Here we are.
Yeah, I don't see anybody from the cast, the original, anymore. I talk to Rafferty every now and again. If you can bump into Florian. I talk to Southworth, once in a while. But yeah, no, we've kind of all gone our separate ways, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you see Chuck and Randy a little bit too, maybe a little more so.
I do. Yeah, I do see Chuck a bit. I haven't seen Randy in years, actually. I'd love to. I mean, even one of the big reasons why I ended up moving to Las Vegas is because Randy Couture asked me to be part of a camp, like a training camp, and I was like, "Oh, really? Okay, sure, yeah, I'll do that." So yeah, for me, it was obviously a life-changing moment. It was pretty cool. It was a definitive moment for the sport and for the UFC, and help balance the books.
Yeah, and here we are, still getting ready for another season coming out in a few weeks here.
Yeah.
Still going strong. I mean, people look at Dana White's Contender Series now and see that as a great piece for the UFC. What do you look as in 2025 the value of the Ultimate Fighter?
Well, I mean, let's see who can, come out of it. I know when we did the intro this year, we talked about some ridiculous number of champions that have come through, all the fighters, all the people that have been on it that were champions. You think about the guys like Brandon Moreno, who got eliminated relatively quick. TJ Dillashaw eliminated really quick, went on to be great champions. It spawned a ton of careers, but everything, everything kind of ebbs and flows and cycles. And then Contender, is really kind of taking the mantle as far as producing the most new UFC fighters. However, they still got a ways to go to catch us.
Yeah, I mean, you look at just that experience, right? Being in the house, all the distractions stripped away, all of your normal routine things taken away from you. That's something that those guys on Contender Series don't get, the isolation and the training of that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still a fan of the Ultimate Fighter for that reason. It's like a 6-week boot camp on how to be a fighter. You cut weight a lot in a certain amount of time. So you train, you get ready and prepare for fights. You see your friends prepare for fights. So you just get it's a very it's an intense experience, because even if you're not fighting, you're helping somebody, you're cornering. So it's just like reps, man. You need reps. You're on camera all the time. You start to think, you either get comfortable with, I know for us, we 2 weeks in, we forgot there were even cameras there, and we just started acting real, for better, for worse, right? The first 2 weeks, you're kind of like, okay, there's a camera there, I better. But then it becomes norm and you just forget and you start acting a fool. So it is boot camp for fighting because you're getting so many reps in such a small quantity. It's density, right?
Yeah. Do you like this idea of Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen being the coaches? Like, obviously, there's going to be no fight. Like, it's kind of a different dynamic as opposed to how we've seen traditionally.
I love it because I love those guys. They're fun, they're funny, they're they're legends in the sport. It's pretty cool. I like those guys, and they're both legitimately good coaches. And one of the things I see in Chael that I kind of saw myself is like, look, I might not be the best coach in the world, but I can design a program and I can get you the best coaches in the world and bring them in. And that was, when I coached the Ultimate Fighter, I felt like I did a great job. It was like I had brought Vegas. They shot the show in Vegas. I lived and trained in Vegas, so I just had my guys come in, and so for them it was a great experience. And then a lot of people that shoot the Ultimate Fighter in Vegas end up moving out here. Just because there's great coaching, great training.
Yeah. Would you want to be like involved in a season again in the future, or do you feel like all of your experience with TUF is in the bank now?
I mean, I would certainly do it. I mean, I certainly, I work with athletes more now than I have, before, just because we have the academies now. So I do on occasion find myself coaching or running a class or trying to structure a little bit of a program, So, I mean, it's the thing is I think I could really, this time I'd get it right. This time I'd get it right. I wouldn't want to be the head coach, but I definitely, what I love? I love, just kind of an aside, to watch the evaluations, to see how different coaches want to do different evaluations. So that's always a fun episode. And it's pretty raw because you have guys and gals that don't know each other, that are coming in, they're competing to see who's going to get picked in order. And some people kind of sandbag, and some people, go for it. So it's a crazy thing.
Yeah, obviously, like, this was such a change for the sport and led to what we see today. We don't need to recite this, like the stories of Dana making the deal in the alley after your fight with Stephan and everything. But it's such like an interesting time to talk to you now, right? We're on the cusp of maybe a new UFC television deal. We'll see where they end up, but it's going to be the most profitable thing they've ever done. And then you look around the other sport, like, I don't know if you saw this GFL thing over the past couple of days, how it's like gone down in flames. PFL's trying to do like, it seems like they lost their major investor, so they called off those two events in May. But when you look at the sport as a whole, I guess, like, do you look at it as a healthy place even beyond what the UFC is doing?
No, the sport's growing again. To kind of answer your question, there's a saturation point. At the end of the day, it's fighting. Not everybody's going to be on board. However, I think that there's so many people that have never been exposed to it. I think, the key to kind of the reality show format, if you look back, was just to kind of Trojan horse it into a way to get, people to kind of, wow, that's interesting. And then if you can stoke a little more interest in it, then you get more gyms, you get more young kids training. Like, think about like where you live. Think about how many kids that train MMA. Right? It's crazy. Well, they're all going to be fans. They're not all going to, most of them won't make it to the UFC, but like, like we play basketball, football, I can always appreciate how amazing those guys are because I was, a mediocre high school basketball player. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. So again, you're just creating fans for the sport.
Very true. I guess, like, as we get into potentially a new era here, maybe they stay with ESPN, maybe they go to a Netflix or whatever. And I know you would never like tell Dana or Hunter, those guys, how to do their job, but like, is there things that like you'd like to see that you think could take the sport to the next level? You mentioned that saturation point. Is it maybe less cards with deeper cards or more events? What do you think needs to be?
Well, I mean, and here I'm going to give the very much the UFC employee answer. So I have learned, and I'm not first off, it sounds very canned, but second, it's true. I've learned not to question Dana. Okay. The guy says, I'm going to do this. That's a great idea. It says Contender. I was in an original pitch meeting for Contender, and thank God I didn't open my mouth because so I used to watch Tuesday Night Contender when it was a boxing thing on ESPN, remember? And then
Yep.
so he's talking about it actually wasn't Dana presenting it was somebody else, and they're talking about, well, Dana wants to do this and that, and I was like, well, nobody even really, like, the undercards aren't like, what's the oh, these are the future stars, but are they, like, aren't all the future stars already in the UFC? They aren't, and yeah, so obviously that was a pretty big success. Fight Island, pretty big success. Slap, pretty big success. There's so many. Every time you think, like, even the Conor Mayweather thing, like, he was like, I'm going to make this happen. And I was like, really? Do people want to see that? Yeah, they did. They wanted to see it. Literally, millions of people wanted to see it enough to pay for it. So, yeah. So from that direction, they're doing pretty good. I wouldn't second guess their man. Also, we don't know what kind of constraints they have. but the thing, and I didn't know that about the GFL. I don't mind a GFL or other organizations going, because look, man, there's a lot of people out there that want to fight, and they can't all be in the UFC. There has to be some, I don't want to say bounce back leagues, but there has to be, like, some close to UFC leagues, right? Some because it's not like an NBA, NFL. There's no collegiate program. So without, there's feeder organizations, but, once a guy makes it to the UFC and let's say he loses a couple and he gets cut, there's not a lot of places for him or her to go and kind of earn their way back. So there needs to be other fight organizations, because look, only 600-700 people max can be in the UFC. I don't care how many countries they're in, whatever. Again, you're just going to have the best, and there's so many people, yeah, they want to do it. It's a lot of demand, right?
For sure. Just last thing, I guess, for us before I let you go here, like, I know you said you're working with athletes more so than ever before now, in this post-retirement role that you've seen to really thrive in, being with UFC a long time after your retirement. Is there, like, stuff that you're doing that you're particularly proud of? One instance of someone you helped, or, like, this post-career phase that you've in? What are you liking the most about it, and what are you most proud of?
Well, thank you for that softball. Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of, really, honestly, very proud of everything the Performance Institute does, from like the level of medical and follow-up, and the way they're following up with athletes after they win or lose. And if you think about it, like, so we have 2 chefs, 2 dietitians, and 2 physical therapists, sports med people, in Miami right now, taking care of those athletes the final week. And I think that's such an important piece that's overlooked. If you think about every other professional sports team in the world, they have a team that takes care of them right up to the match and in the match, right? So our team takes care of those athletes, no matter who they're fighting each other, right up until then, So that's pretty awesome. And again, they just keep expanding that service. So a lot of smart people trying to do the right thing and help athletes out.
Is that one of the biggest impacting factors you personally witness? Is, like, weight cutting is always going to be dangerous, so it's always going to be part of the sport. People are always going to try to do it.
It's
but
not.
have you seen?
I disagree. It's not.
Okay. You don't think it's not what?
If you come in and
Yeah.
you do a DEXA, you do a metabolic eval and you don't take a fight on a week's notice, and you say, okay, this is my non-fat mass. There's really some good stuff, like, Charles Stahl and Dr. Reed Reel. There's some really good stuff out there, from the PI, as far as the information. Like, you can find the right weight class fit, and then you can diet down, weight descent for competition, if you will, and you can make it perfectly safe and compete and perform well. It's just, hey, look, man, sometimes you're going to go to bed hungry, or you move up a weight class, or if you're not walking around 10% above your weight class, if you're 16% above your weight class, guess what? You don't get to take a fight on 2 weeks' notice. So you cut yourself off from that money because you chose to walk around heavier. And so I don't think it has to be dangerous in any way, shape, or form. Like, why? Just don't push it. There's and then Charles, the PI, is actually going to put out some research, like white paper research, and I don't want to steal other talking points because it's not public
Sure.
yet, but the heavier fighter doesn't always win. There's no difference. Like day of weigh in, it's being heavier.
Yeah.
I would have thought it did. It does not. So like
Yeah.
you're finding your optimal weight class and optimal target weight based on, yes, your arm length, your leg length, your stature, and your fighting style. That's important. And we can help you do that. But again, it might not be the answer you like, but you'll make the weight and you'll be able to perform and you won't feel like garbage on fight day or have stomach issues or 8,000 other things. It takes, one, it takes planning, two, it takes discipline and maintenance.
Yeah. And I think that's a great way to put it and kind of answer my question.
As I just randomly eat popcorn all day.
But I guess that's what I was getting at, right? Like if you had said everything you just said to me about weight cutting 20 years ago when you were on TUF, you would have probably had your mind a little bit blown, right? Like none of that was really available and people. So that's like, there's a huge evolution, I guess.
I wouldn't have known what that stuff was. I just feel like, what?
Yeah. All right, Forrest. Well, we could talk about MMA for days, but I'm here in Miami. I got to get over to the UFC 314 press conference.
Have fun, brother.
All right, congratulations on the 20-year anniversary.
All right, thank you, bro.